What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 33 of Beyond the Finish Line, a trail running podcast that dives deep into the stories that transcend far beyond the trails. I am your host, Joe Harden. I'm a passionate trail runner and ultra distance enthusiast myself. Today's guest is Coree Woltering. You might know Coree from his 1,147-mile record on the Ice Age Trail. That's bonkers to me. He completed that in just over 21 days. Coree has done everything from 50Ks, 250 miles recently, with strong performances at some major ultras like Western States, Leadville. One race that really has sparked interest in me is Hurt 100. And real quick, before we bring Coree forward for this chat, friends of the pod, do me and everyone else on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network a huge favor. Wherever you get your pod content, go over there and click that subscribe button, rate it. Give us a 5-star review if you feel so inclined. And something I want to challenge listeners, if you don't feel like giving me a 5-star review, tell me why. I mean, I will take any and all constructive criticism. Slide in my DMs and tell me what you want. I love bringing that challenge to my listeners. You can actually scoot over to Spotify and comment on podcasts so we can keep that conversation going. I love seeing those comments. I will do my best to respond to those. So without further ado, let's bring Coree forward for this amazing chat. What's up, Coree?
Hey, how's it going?
We made it happen. So I think we tried this back in November, and you're just everywhere. I think you were just getting ready for, I think you were getting ready for Javelina. So it might have been late October, but so it's kind of cool to lock you down and finally get you on the show. So I'm super stoked to have you here. And I guess what I'd like to do to start the show off is just tell me a little bit about Coree Woltering.
I'm boring. No.
I don't believe that at all.
Yep. So, hi, my name is Coree. I'm 35 years old. I live in Maine, and I like to run really far. Yeah. So that's the short story. It's funny because when people are like, tell me about yourself, I'm like, well, do you want like my favorite color, or do you want, like something super deep? But yeah.
No, yeah. Favorite color? What's your favorite color?
Orange, for sure. It's orange.
Solid color.
Totally. But yeah, it's so interesting because I've actually been injured for the last almost 2 to 3 months, I guess. And, most people know me as an ultra runner. I like to race a lot. But then when you're injured, it's like, well, who are you and what else do you do? And so, like, when I'm training super hard, people will be like, oh, what do you do for fun? And say, well, I run. They're like, yeah, but what do you do when you're not running? Well, I still run some more. But now that I've been injured, it's been this nice little journey of being able to do things that I wouldn't normally do. I love to bake, so I've been baking a lot more. And last fall, I got a camera and got into photography a bit. And now it's like I spend probably 2 to 3 hours a day just outside taking photos. And I've been getting more into kayaking now because up here in Maine, we have a lot of great lakes and wildlife. So I've been spending time in the kayaks and taking photos from the kayaks and just doing the things that I wouldn't normally get to do if I was in a big training block for like UTMB or something.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed. I mean, sorry you're injured, and I kind of going through a little bit of injury myself. So like you, it's just like, well, what do I do with myself? So same thing. I got my camera back out too recently. That's kind of what grabbed my attention lately. Your pictures are amazing, by the way. I know I felt like I was asking you a bunch of questions about your lens, but yeah, some of those pictures are just phenomenal. And but yeah, so I dove deep into back into photography, hiking, and it's funny that you mentioned baking because I just got my first sourdough starter. So nice. I'm going to make the best out of a small injury. So I like that you're leaning into other interests. I mean, same as you. When I'm a runner, but we're other things too. So
totally. And I think that we forget sometimes that we are more than just runners, especially when you're doing it professionally. That is my job. And so it becomes super easy to make that your whole identity, or just make it something that's so like, this is what I do, that you have to be prepared for injuries or what happens after doing it professionally is over. And
Oh, we lost Corey. We'll have to bear with Corey. He's got his Starlink is acting up today. There he is. What's up, Corey?
and we're
How
back.
you doing?
Yeah. So
Cool.
Starlink apparently for like this whole week has just been very weird. So I may cut in and out, but I'll be here.
Cool. Don't worry. Like we joked about in the green room, technological problems on this podcast is par for the course. I've had so many terrible podcasts because of my internet, so totally get it. All is forgiven there.
Sweet.
So yeah, you were talking about running. So you're a professional runner. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into before you're a professional runner. So I guess I'm curious. Like why running? Like when did running begin for you? Like if you would like run us through maybe your running journey.
Yeah, so I like to say that my first race was against my grandfather when I was 7 years old in a church parking lot, because I thought I was a super fast kid, and grandpa thought that he was really fast. So I came home from, I don't know, summer camp at one point, and I wanted to race. And so with that, we raced across a church parking lot, and he actually beat me on the way out. But I was, young. I'm like, oh, turn around and go back. And so I won on the way back. So I like to think that my first event was a tie. But yes, my grandfather did beat me when I was 7 in a race. So I would say that was my first race. But I mean, I've been running literally forever. I played baseball growing up. I was a swimmer, played junior high school soccer, ran cross country, track and field, literally all of the things, and everything included running. And I can't say that running was always my favorite sport, but it seemed to be the sport that I was best at. And so I wanted to play collegiate soccer, but I ended up getting a couple concussions my senior year, and they're like, hey, you should probably take a year off of this. And so I still went to the same school and had planned on just running for that first year there and then playing soccer, but ended up having some success in college kind of early on. And so it just became one of those things where it's like, I think I'm going to run. But I had just a string of injuries late in high school and early in my collegiate career. But with a swimming background and a running background, it just made sense to buy a bike and go try a triathlon. And I ended up qualifying for the half Ironman World Championships in my first like official half Ironman.
Wow.
And so here I am, like on the track. I was a 400, 800 runner, sometimes going up to the 1500. And then cross country in college was 8K. And it's like I did Olympic distance stuff, and like swim was okay, cycling was good, running was great. And then, here I go to the half Ironman, qualify for the world championships. It's like, well, I guess I have to do this. And I always joked that I did not like running that much. And so running a half marathon after swimming 1.2 miles and swimming and then riding 56 miles seemed like absolutely nuts to me. But it went well. And so I kind of fell in love with it. And through the rest of my collegiate career, I was able to kind of keep the injuries at bay by swimming and cycling along with running. And then after college, I moved from Illinois out to Boulder, Colorado, thinking I wanted to become a professional triathlete because that's always the goal, And I moved out there, but then started hanging out with mountain bikers and trail runners. And I did not know that those were sports that people competed in. Like, I didn't know that they did them professionally or even competitively. And one of the people was like, hey, I need a pacer and crew for Leadville 100. And I was just like, what is Leadville and what is the 100? You're like, oh, it's this town in Colorado at 10,200 feet, and it's 100 miles on foot. And it's like, oh, people do that? Like, it's like, I've never heard of this before, but I don't, I have no idea what this is. So of course I had to go and check it out. And I ended up, back then you could still have a pacer from the halfway point. So Winfield back over Hope Pass and down to Twin Lakes. So I got to pace that part. And that was my first introduction to pacing, crewing, all of it. And I just fell in love with it. And so that is
That's
how my journey into trail running started.
nice. So yeah, so your first introduction was like one of the, probably one of the most legendary mountain races in the sport. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you went from triathlon, like soccer, to so concussions and soccer. I had a sister that played soccer, and that is a rough sport, by the way. Like I remember
It is.
she got someone like slid tackled her, and it broke her like shin. It was like the craziest thing I've ever seen. So when you say concussions in soccer, I get it. That is rough. That is so rough.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's wild because I mean, I was a varsity starter all 4 years of high school, and with that, I mean, my freshman year is 5'2" and 99 pounds, and as a sophomore, it's like I was 5'6" and like 112, 115 pounds. So like, I was not a big kid. I was just a very fast kid,
just
but
fast.
but I was also a very aggressive player for how small I was. And so because of that, I'm honestly not surprised I got the concussions I did.
Oh, something that you said that struck me is you were born in Illinois. So you're from the Midwest too, which is pretty cool. I was born in Evanston, but I lived in Waukegan for a little bit. But
Yep.
so I think that's kind of cool that you're Midwest. Well, I saw that you've ran a bunch of like Henri Mule stuff, like the Frozen Gnome, and I was like, oh, cool. Like these are not far from here. But I plan on
Yeah.
doing. I'd like to do Frozen Gnome this year, actually. But I've heard a lot of good things about it. But
Yeah, it's a fun one for sure. It's a fun atmosphere.
So you go from like crewing and pacing Leadville to like, so what was where'd it go from there? Like, what was your first like trail race?
My first trail race was in 2014, 2013, no, 2014. It was in Durango, Colorado. It was the Durango Double. So back then they had, I think it was a trail half marathon on Saturday and a road half marathon on Sunday.
Oh, cool.
And I did both races and just absolutely got rocked in the trail half marathon. But I think I finished like fourth or something. I don't remember. But it was one of those where I had never raced on that type of terrain before. And it's like, oh, this is absolutely wild. But I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then in December of that year, I ran Malibu Canyon 50K out in California. And it's a 2-loop 50K. I came through the first 25K loop under the 25K course record time and still had to go out on a second loop. And I was leading the race until I think mile 20. And then things just completely started to fall apart. And so at mile 20, I got passed. Then at I think mile 24 or 25, I got passed again. So I was in third. And I just remember it was a descent to the finish. So you have like a 3-mile descent and then a mile and a half of just flat trail to the finish. And I just remember looking over my shoulder probably every 10 seconds on that descent and the flat section of trail, hoping that I wasn't going to get past. And so I ended up finishing third. And it was a good experience. But the reason I ran this 50K is that was December. So in September of that year, I had done the Half Ironman World Championships. And then 2 weeks later, ran my first marathon, the Quad Cities Marathon in Moline, Illinois. And I ran 2:37 for my first marathon. My longest run before that was, I think, 17 miles. And so I had I honestly had no idea it was going to happen, but ended up running really well. So I posted about my first marathon on Instagram, and somebody commented, they were like, "Oh, you should come out to California and run the Malibu Canyon 50K. I don't know if your baby marathon legs could handle it." And so I'm like, "Oh, it's a challenge now. I have to go to California."
Yeah.
So
It's on now.
yeah, and so it was really funny because at that time, the dude that commented on that was like, "And you know, we should make a bet on this. Whoever beats the other, whoever loses has to buy beer and tacos for the rest of the weekend." I was like, "Yeah, this sounds great." Because I'm a 2:37 marathoner now, so I'm like, this is going to be super easy. And it was just so funny because once again, on that final descent at Malibu Canyon, I'm looking over my shoulder and I just see him start like at the top of that descent as I'm probably halfway down. It's like, oh my goodness, I don't know that I have the legs to handle this, but I did beat him, so it was all good.
Oh, nice. So that's your first 50K. I guess I'm curious, like, how did you go from, like, what was the transition from like 50K to, like, you just did Cocodona 250 recently? Like, maybe run us through, like, how did it progress? Was it something you just like needed, like, it needed like a bigger challenge? I mean, I know how that's how I am. Like once you knock off a distance, you're like, well, what's the next thing? Like, what's the next thing? Like, is that how that works, or just there's something that strikes you a distance, or yeah, run us through like how you got to Cocodona, I guess, as far as that goes. But
Yeah, I mean that's a very loaded question, and it's not an easy path there. So my first 50K was Malibu Canyon 50K in California, and then my first 50 mile was 6 months later, and it was Silver Rush 50 up in Leadville, and I ran that and finished fourth, but I missed the podium by 52 seconds. And so at that point, I was like, oh, I'm
dang.
giving up. I was like, I'm giving up on trail running. I'm just going back to the marathon now. And it was so funny because I didn't know that I actually ran a good time for Silver Rush. And so I was like, oh, I just finished fourth. Like, I'm terrible at this sport. I need to give it up. And everyone's like, no. Like, that was great. You did amazing. You should be really happy with that. I'm like, oh no, like it's just fourth, you know? And so it took me a little bit to get over that. But anyway, I then kind of focused on the marathon and maybe the 50-ish mile distance for maybe the next 2 years or so. And then I was just trying to figure out how you get sponsored and what do sponsors want. And there's never a super clear answer, but the thing that I noticed that everyone was doing was 100K or 100 miles. And so I got picked up by Innovate for a 2-year contract. And with that, they kind of wanted me to try to get into Western states. And I ended up getting in the first time I applied with one ticket in the lottery.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. And so it's like, oh, I
Wow.
guess I'm running 100 miles. And so that, so I was like, here we go. And it was just like this, it's like, okay. And so well, I guess there's so much more that goes into that. But before Western, so this was 2017, I'd planned on doing a couple golden ticket races to try to get into Western states. But I had an athlete that I was coaching that was going to be running a 100-miler later in the year. So I ended up going down to Florida in February of 2017 and running the Dunes 100. So it's 100 miles all in sugar sand and sand dunes in Jupiter, Florida.
Ooh.
And they were going through a record heat wave that day where it was 87 with a heat index of 103 or 104 in February. And I was flying down
Ooh.
from Illinois at this point. And so it was literally
Yeah, like
100 degrees
10 degrees
warmer
here.
in Florida. Yes, no, it was single digits with wind chill of well below zero. So it was actually 100 degrees warmer, and it was just so funny. So I go down, I do this, and ended up finishing third, but I learned a lot in that race. And so then I was able to help coach my athletes better when it came to that. But I was like, oh, I don't know that I need to run 100 again. But then that November, got one ticket in the Western States Lottery and it gets pulled. So Western is going to be my second 100. And I do that. I enjoy it. My first time there is an absolute incredible experience. And I thought I wanted to focus on the 100-mile distance, but at the same time, I had also run really fast for 50 miles. And so I kind of wanted to focus more on that, but just through some sponsor stuff, they're like, hey, we think the 100-mile might be better for you. So I just focused on the 100 for the next couple of years. And honestly, I don't feel like I've ever really ran a great 100. I think I've run a couple good ones, but none have been great. So then that brings us to end of 2018, and I signed with the North Face. And it's like, okay, like here we go. Things are looking up, and let's see what we can do. And 2019 was honestly not a great year of racing for me. It was okay, but it hadn't been as strong as some of the other years had been. But with that, I was also racing a lot bigger things in 2019, and I was doing a ton of international racing. And so it was my first season of just trying to figure out time changes and just racing in other countries, and not forgetting to use tap water to brush my teeth so I don't get sick, and just things like that. And so I had a really rough 2019, but I dropped out of a couple things, finished a lot of things, a lot of interesting things, but it was a rough year. And so then I thought that I was going to have a really strong 2020, put in, all of the training for it. And then we're getting ready for Black Canyon. And I don't have a great race at Black Canyon. And so then it's like, okay, I'm just going to focus on canyons and try to get into Western states. But then COVID shut down everything. So here I am in Illinois trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this fitness. And there's just nothing. I mean, there's literally no racing going on. So I'm just at home trying to figure out what to do. And I thought about the Ice Age Trail because I know that Kettle Moraine 100 is on the Ice Age Trail, and I know they have the Ice Age 50, and it just seemed kind of appealing to me. And I looked and I realized there's an FKT for the whole Ice Age Trail, which is just under 1,200 miles. And I thought about it. I was like, this is probably one of the only times in my life that I will have multiple friends and people in my life that are not able to go to work right now because of COVID, or, their jobs were no longer exist or whatever. And so with that, I just said, would any of you guys be interested in crewing and pay an extra FK on board? So my longest run.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So like my longest run up to that point was, 100 and I think Superior 100 is 103 or 104 miles. So like my longest running race was 103 or 104. And then it's like, let's just go do the Ice Age Trail. But the logistics of it, like I am not a logistics person. I don't like spreadsheets. I'm terrible at all that stuff. So it was a big undertaking, and we threw it together in about 3 weeks and just went for it and ended up getting it. But that was just rough. Like it was very rough. Every day of it was rough. but it was fun because there are very few times that you ever get the chance to just go out and run all day, every day. And to get an FKT like that, you have to go out and run or walk or hike all day, every day. So it was actually a great experience for me, and a lot of just mental fitness that was built up in that. But
yeah. And something that, correct me if I'm mistaken, but I felt like I heard you say that you actually didn't even know, like, going into it, what the total miles of the trail were.
Yep.
Is that, did I hear?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that.
I knew it was around 1,200 or so, and I just figured it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not super hilly, so I think I can just kind of run. And I just planned on running 100K a day or something. And at that point, I had finished 100K in my life, and yet I was like, I think I can just run 100K a day. And here we go. And it was such a wild learning experience and so many things, but it was absolutely amazing. And that's kind of when I realized I enjoy the multi-day and the longer stuff. And it's not so much that it's not always so much that it needs to be competitive or it has to be a bigger challenge. Sometimes I just want to know how it feels. Like, how does it feel to run almost 1,200 miles in 21 days? Or how does it feel to do something like Southern States 200 or Cocodona? And that's what gets me on these start lines. And sometimes I maybe don't always need to be on them, but it's like I need to know how this feels.
Yeah, that's something that's been drawing me lately is stuff like the multi-day stuff or like taking on the Ice Age Trail is like just like a big ass adventure like that. Like that sounds phenomenal to me. Because you're not like worried about like I mean you're going for an FKT, so you're worried about time, but also like I would assume that you're able to like enjoy the journey more because you're not like doing cutoff math in your head or I have to get here before this aid station or like crew pick. I mean, I know you probably had like a lot of crew and like logistics to deal with, but I feel like not coming from a place of knowledge yet that it would be just a totally different, maybe even more enjoyable experience doing something like this.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
I'm sure,
yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely more enjoyable because like Cocodona starts at 4 a.m. I'm not a 4 a.m. person. I mean, I will be if I have to, but that's not me. And
same.
so for me, it's like on the day that we were starting Ice Age and the day we started Pinhoti, it was just like, okay, whatever time I wake up is the time I will have breakfast. I will take one last shower for a little bit, and then we'll just drive to the start, and then we go. And so if I start at noon, I start at noon. If I start at 6 a.m., I start at 6 a.m. But like there is no pressure to have a set start time of this. And so then with that, I love running at night. And so for me, if we don't start super early in the day, that's okay because I'm completely happy to push until 2 a.m. and then sleep until 7 and then get up and do it again. Whereas I feel like a lot of athletes try to get everything done during the day because they like the light and that's just how they're set up. But for me, I'm not that person. I mean, I would honestly rather start something at noon and push until 6 a.m. when the sun is almost coming up and then sleep from 7 to 11:30.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds more appealing to me than like you said, like the last 100 miler I lined up for. I think it had like a 4 a.m. start time, and I was just like, "This is crazy that we're here this early." But, so yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Uh, so something like a multi-day. Um, I mean, I know it's like obviously it's like super physically demanding. So outside of like that, like what do you think you learned about yourself? I mean, maybe not like physically, but what do you think you learned about yourself, like mentally, or like throughout something like a 21-day FKT?
Ice Age was one of the biggest mental tests of my life just because on day 5 I rolled my ankle but didn't even tell the crew about it until day 7 when they noticed me visibly just limping as I was trying to do anything. And they're like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I rolled my ankle 2 days ago." And it's like, "You didn't tell us?" Well, no, I didn't tell you because you guys would be worried about it, and I don't want you to worry about it. And they're like, "Well, now we're worried about it because you're literally just walking everything, but we can visibly see your ankle swelling through your socks." It's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, it does hurt." And it it was one of those where it was the most pain I had ever been in just at any point in my life. I've had concussions, I've had multiple surgeries, I've had multiple stress fractures, and that ankle was the most painful thing I've ever had to deal with because on day 5 we were like 4:30 or 4, I don't know, we were ahead of the record by some amount, and like day 6 we were still ahead of the record by I think 40 miles or something. And I specifically remember a moment where we crossed like the marker on the day of where the record should be on day 5, no, on day 6. But then I continued to push that night because I was feeling decent and it was raining, but I kind of like running in the rain. So I just continued to push for an extra like 26 miles or something that night. And that was honestly probably one of the moments that made the ankle worse than better. And every step hurt. But I was like, I'm just putting more time on the record now. And so during the next week, I went from being ahead of the record to being almost 60 miles behind the record. And it was everything. And that was like, we're not going home. We're absolutely not going home. So mentally, you have to just be able to hang in there knowing you're a day behind the record or almost a little more than a day behind the record at that point. But then also, it's not feeling any better. You just get used to the pain. And so, with that, it's trying to manage the mental side of being behind the record, but the physical side of also just being in pain all day. And so, yeah.
Man, yeah, man, that's amazing that you overcame all that and just kept pushing. That's incredible.
Yeah, and it was I didn't want to go home, but I also didn't love the situation I was in. But then what happened? It was, let me think. It was I think we were day 9, maybe day 10, when Pete Kostelnick sent me a message on Instagram, and he's just like, you have to keep moving, it fixes itself. And I was like, okay, I'm sure it fixes itself, but then, well, it is Pete, and if there's anybody that knows about injuries fixing themselves as they're moving, it's Pete, so I guess I have to keep moving. But it was just so funny because throughout the time, people are like, try to see a sports chiropractor, try doing this, try doing that. And we got in to see a sports chiropractor, and we
Corey will come back to us. There he is. Okay.
Yeah, but we were doing all the things to try to fix it.
Yeah, so you're able to get to
saw a sports chiro and did.
Oh, cool. So you're able to address.
We were able to do that, and you could like see swelling kind of going down a little bit over the next couple days. But I went from putting up like 55 to 60 miles a day down to my shortest day I think was 22 miles, and that's just such a big hit at that point. But it was, things were kind of fixing themselves, and then like one day I woke up and the swelling was pretty much gone, so I at least had range of motion back. It was still super painful, but I at least had range of motion, which is the limiting factor of being able to either walk or hike or run. And so once that kind of flipped on day 14 or 15, things got better.
Oh, isn't it like incredible what the human body can do? Like you were still in pain, but it's like you were able to like find it and still like keep going. It's just, to me, it's incredible how much farther you can go than what you actually think you can. Like in a situation like that, it's just, to me, it's just wild to hear. So you said you were a day behind the record and you were able to make it up.
Yeah.
Like even after this injury, that's bonkers.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, that comes down to the final 100 hours left to like get the FKT. I still had 270 miles to cover in the final 100 hours. And, and it's just like, I had never run. I mean, once again, my longest race was 100 miles. I had never done anything like this before. And it was absolutely wild because here we are. It's like the record should not be possible when you start looking at it. And I put up, so there's a lot of like rail trail, some pavement, and a lot of like flatter stuff in the final 200 to 300 miles. And so I put up 105 miles in the next 24 hours, just on basically rail trail. And as like, oh, wow, like that's like 105 miles. That's so wild. And then I slept for 30 minutes and then got up and did another like 60-mile push. and then just kept going. And so finally, we get to the point where it's like I had 40 hours to cover 135 miles, I think it was. And at this point, we're on day 19, 20, 21. And it's, if you would have told me that I could run that many miles in 40 hours or less, I would have said that you're absolutely nuts. But as like, I'm also this close, so I'm not going home now. And somehow I was just able to get it done. But so much of it is a blur when I look back on that, because sleep deprivation and just the amount of pain that I was going through, it's like I didn't even feel like I was in my body anymore because it just hurt so bad.
Oh wow. Yeah, I love what you said. It's like you didn't come this far to only go this far. Like I think it's cool. You just had to. You basically had to send it for the rest for the next 3 days to get
Yep.
that
And
done.
like I got so
That's
much
wild.
support from people though. Like people from Wisconsin were coming out left and right trying to make this thing happen. And I'm just so thankful for that, because I honestly would not have been able to I would not have been able to do it alone.
Oh, cool. Did you have like trail angels and like probably like people join you, or
Oh
did you
yeah,
have
we
any of
had
that
people
going
that
on?
were coming out to pace that would literally like, we had some people that would come out as much as they could. We had at one point when we were dealing with my ankle kind of early on, we did like a Facebook Live, and someone was like, what could be helping right now or whatever, and is like, I could go for a lasagna or a cupcake. And we get to the next trailhead, and somebody like went to a local bakery and showed up with a dozen cupcakes. And then we get to the next trailhead, and
Oh,
or we get
cool.
like the next trailhead, or maybe two trailheads later, and somebody showed up with a homemade lasagna, like straight up homemade lasagna from their kitchen. And like
Baller.
and so for the next week and a half or however long we were out there, people were showing up to trailheads with lasagnas and cupcakes and literally anything that they could make at home. They're just bringing it out. They're like, you guys can't be eating gas station food all the time. Like, we're going to make you food. And so people are opening up their homes to us that were along the trail, because we had planned on doing some camping and stuff like that. But campgrounds are closed, and people are like, oh, well, I live 5 minutes off the trail. Like, just come here. Your crew can take showers and crash at our house. And just there's so much support around this that it's it we could not have done it just as ourselves.
That's awesome. How good was that, like that first trail lasagna that
It
you
was
had? Had just like
amazing, like
had to been heaven.
absolutely amazing, because I was going to the gas station and just getting like cheeseburgers, chicken sandwiches, all of that type of stuff, the most calories, fat, sodium that you can get. And that's what I was eating out on the trail most days. And we were finishing late enough that most restaurants were closed for takeout or anything. So dinner might be Taco Bell, because that seemed to be the only thing that was open at when I was finishing at midnight. Or it could just be, well, you're going to eat another gas station sandwich and go to bed and wake up and do this all over again tomorrow. And so, like, to finally have home cooked food was amazing, but then to have people just keep bringing it out to us was absolutely incredible. And like, there were multiple families that would just show up at trailheads and just wait for us to get there so that there is food for us. And I mean, some of these people are coming out at 2, 3 a.m. and just still having, a steaming hot lasagna.
Oh wow. Yeah, this has got me fired. I've been really wanting to get out to the Ice Age Trail's not that far from me, and I still haven't been out there. So it's got me pretty. This has got me pretty excited to get some miles out there
Yeah.
soon. Um, so what? How far? So you were behind the record. How far ahead did you finish when you were
6
done?
hours. Um,
Nice. Okay.
And so it's like it's not that much for being,
Yeah,
21
I
days
mean
comes down to 6 hours.
that's still incredible that you're able to make all that up though. Um, yeah, I'm just blown away by by this story. When I first heard about it, I thought it was crazy, but then now hearing you actually talk about it, like, yeah, how did you get ready for this thing? I mean, it kind of sounds like it was like very spur of the moment, which I think I like
Yep.
that better. That it's just like, yep, might as well do
Yep. It
this
was just
thing. So
fitness that I had built up for other things that ended up rolling over to it. Because if I would have prepared for it, I would have prepared differently for sure. But I didn't have the opportunity to do that. It's like that was the time to do it, so I just had to do it then.
Cool. So, something that's really struck me, like looking at like at your ultra sign up or like listening to podcasts that you've done, is you've done like a ton of like international races, and I guess I'm curious because I know what's when I see a race like races have to like speak to me in some way, and but I know you're a professional athlete too, so I don't know if that like that drives some of what you like. I don't know how that works, but I guess what I'm curious about, to sum up what I'm getting at, is like what makes you like sign up for a race, like pick a race, wherever, whatever country or whatever state, because like it looks like you've just done something everywhere, and I guess I'm curious what makes you hit the register button on a race.
Yeah, that's a great
Um,
question, and sometimes it's honestly a race director reaches out and is like, "Hey, like I'd love for you to come to this race." I'm like, "Okay." Sometimes it's honestly as simple as that. But some of the international stuff I did kind of early on was the North Face was a sponsor of like the North Face Endurance Challenge series, and they had a lot of international stuff. And so I'm very thankful I got to go to a lot of those races. And they're just some of them are in tough locations, and it was it was very fun to get to do that. And it's I don't I grew up in Illinois, and up until I was, I don't know, 22, 23, I never actually thought that I could go pro in anything. And to be honest, I think I had been to maybe 10 states or something. I don't know, 8 or 10 states. And so, like, international travel is not something that I thought was anything I would be doing, let alone racing in other countries. And so when I finally got the opportunity to do it, I was like, I want to go everywhere, to be honest. And so a lot of it is just, I will just like, I'll be on Instagram and something will come up where it's like, oh, there's this race in, I don't know, Cyprus. And I'll see it. And I'm like, I guess I want to go to Cyprus now. And so like I'll sign up for it. And thankfully, being an athlete, we have travel budgets for things that cover stuff. And so it's just a lot of stuff has honestly been very just, oh, that sounds kind of fun. I guess I'm gonna go try it.
I like that. That's what got me. I did something really silly, and I signed up for the Vol State wait list, the lottery, and like that's what got me in that situation. Just Instagram, so what made me sign up for it. It's like I was just scrolling. I'm like, this looks really crazy and really fun. So
Yeah.
register. I love that. That's cool. So being a professional athlete for Merrill, I mean, I know they probably give you like some autonomy too, but that's cool that I'm sure there's like races they want you to go to or that you get to do. But I guess to sum up that question, like you love running and you're a professional runner. So how do you like strike a balance? Like when you take a hobby or something that you love and you turn it into like a career, like I guess I would feel like it could easily become like a job. Like, so how do you like strike a balance where you do this thing that you love for a living, but also you don't make it like mundane, like a job? Like, how do you like kind of balance that, like your career obligations and like the love? Like, obviously you love running because um, look at all the stuff that you do. I guess I'm curious about
Yeah,
that.
it's very interesting because sometimes you can be more results focused, sometimes you can be more storytelling, experience focused. And I think that, you're going to have some of the just super high performing athletes like the Courtneys and the Jims that race a couple times a year. And, they're very much results focused, and there you go. And that's amazing for them. And it's super fun to watch them do what they do because they just do it at such a high level. Or like
Yeah.
Katie Scheid, she lives abroad now, but she's originally from Maine, so we still claim her. And and so it's really fun to see like that level of just athlete. But then there's a bunch of us out here that I've been in the sport for a very long time, so I will be the first to tell you that I'm not always the most competitive person, but I will also tell a really good story about something interesting that I'm doing, and that's what keeps people interested. And so like for me, it's like I have the seasons where I want to be competitive, and when I do, it's like I will normally do it very well. But I will also have the seasons where it's like, I just really want to go to some really cool places and show people a different part of the world that they probably will never go to or they've never thought about going to, and get people interested in that. And so I think that's what keeps me in the sport, because I love running, and being injured has actually sucked because I wasn't able to run for so long. And I was really thinking about that, where it's like, if I wasn't getting paid to run, would I still run? Like, yeah, I would still go out and I'd run maybe like 5K a day. And I think I'd be super happy with that. But it's like, well, when you're getting paid to run, you can also run a lot more.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I mean, what drawn me to you on on like a social media aspect wasn't like that you're podiuming a bunch of stuff. It's like you do tell like really good story, and it's interesting, and it's you can tell it's genuine, and like your pictures are amazing. I know I've said that like 3 times already, but your pictures are bonkers. So yeah, thank you for sharing that with us. So outside of the running piece, which is obviously a big part of your life, but it's not everything that you are. You're a lot of things. Something that we share in common, and I was hoping that we could talk about a little bit, is we're
Yeah.
both sober. And first, I just want to say congratulations. I felt like you just had a milestone not very
Yeah,
long
like
ago.
3.5 years, I guess,
Um,
was a little bit ago. So yeah.
so I just want to say congratulations. I'm also a sober athlete myself, and if you were comfortable with it, I didn't know if maybe you could share a little bit about like your sobriety journey too. It's something that inspired me. And I just want to say to you for like share. I think it's important that people share their sobriety journeys. I know that your story has certainly helped someone, and the goal is obviously to help at least one person. So I think it's very you know unique and cool that you share that journey with others. And I didn't know if maybe you could unpack that for a little bit with us if you wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, congrats to you as well.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
yeah, so it's wild, because sobriety is one of those things that just is not talked about a ton. Like I feel like it's becoming more common or acceptable to talk
Yeah,
about it, but for a while it's like
yeah.
you didn't
The
really
the
hear of.
stigma
Yeah,
the,
and
the stigma is going away, but slowly. But yeah,
yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean
and
to
it's
interrupt. That.
no, but it's like it's so wild because um like when I got sober, there are multiple things that kind of led into the decision, but like I wasn't in legal trouble, like didn't get a DUI, didn't get arrested, like anything like that. And so it was honestly one of those things where I had a series of races where I just dropped out of like 3 different 100-mile races in a row. And it's like I was still running 80 miles, 100 miles a week. I was doing like all of that stuff. But from a performance setting, like I just could not string together even a decent race. And I just don't know that I was also being a super great teammate at that time. And like as a sponsored athlete, like sure, people enjoyed the fact that I could bring the party to the finish line, and like there are a lot of things that were happening and a lot of opportunities I was getting. But at the same time, I also just was not racing well, and like that's something I still wanted to do. And so like in 2021, I finally just decided it was like, okay, there are a lot of things that need to happen, but honestly, the first thing is I just need to stop drinking. And so I was like, how am I going to go about this? And I thought, well, maybe I'll just stop, because, I had done sober October, I had done dry January, I had stopped drinking for, I don't know, like 10 or 12 weeks going into Black Canyon one year. And it's like, so yeah, I can stop, but it's like I can also run 1,200 miles or whatever. So sure. But when I would then start drinking again after not drinking, I would just dive back in as if I didn't miss a beat. And so because that's like, oh, like I don't drink like normal people. I drink different. And so with that is like, okay, something absolutely has to change. So I decided to go to rehab in November of 21, and basically did a 3-week inpatient, 10-week outpatient program. And going to rehab was actually a great thing for me because I realized that like I didn't have to lose everything to get sober. It's a choice that I was making, and not to be like, oh, I'm better than those people that were in there. It's like, no, I just was thankful that I had the opportunity to go when I was still choosing to go, and it just gave me a complete different tool set for when I was out.
Yeah.
And so like it was one of those things where kind of early on, people are like, oh, sobriety is precious and, fragile. Don't talk about it to other people. And, you should keep that close to yourself and all these things. And I just kept thinking like, but why am I supposed to keep this close to myself?
Yeah, to hell
Because
with that. Share it, man. Share it. That's what I say.
it was like, why am I supposed to keep this close to myself though? Because it's like, sure, early sobriety can be fragile, I guess, but at the same time, like, I've done really hard things, and so I'm confident that I had a great support system around me to be able to do this totally fine. But then, second, it's like one of the reasons I didn't think about actually like stopping drinking for good is because no one ever talks about it, and they don't talk about like the sobriety journey. They just talk about the sober Octobers and the dry Januaries, but there's nobody out there that's like, hey, this is what I went through and how I did it. And, now I'm X amount of years sober. It was just like a very hush hush thing. Because, connection lost.
There we go.
And we're back. But yeah, so it's like, it's the weirdest thing because, and I'm finally back. Yeah, okay, sweet. Cool. But yeah, it's the weirdest thing because, if I don't know, I guess it's just I don't see a reason to not talk about it. And if we're supposed to help others and all of the good stuff, then you can't do that quietly. Absolutely. And if I'm able to talk about DNFs and low moments in races and all of those things, then why can't I talk about sobriety? And so I just chose to start talking about it. And like, honestly, the amount of messages I get about sobriety has been amazing. And it's like, I went to rehab. Not everyone needs to go to rehab. And like, did I need to go? No, I don't know. But it's like, I'm not ashamed of going, and I will happily tell people I went. And if people actually need, some direction and like how to go about it, like I'm at least now a resource for them.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, first of all, I refuse to like be quiet about my sobriety now. Like I was in the beginning. The same thing. Like I started sharing, and I got started getting DMs, and so yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, rehab was something that it wasn't fun when I was in it, but I'm same as you. I'm so glad I went. It may not work the first few times I went, but I'm glad that it gave me the tools that I have now. So yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that you choose to like recover out loud, like talk about these things. I think more people should be talking about it. And I think in this space too, I know it's a common theme, but I'm just so glad there are people that are sharing their sobriety journeys in the endurance sports space. Oh, I lost Corey for a little bit. Corey will be back.
Yep.
There we go. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for sharing. It's an inspiration to me, and I guess I've just always enjoyed you being upfront and open about it.
Yeah, thanks. I feel like it's the thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, real quick, I guess. So we have someone from the chat that says they love that you've been transparent and open about it. That is from runner Mama Amanda. Thank you so much. And it's helped her keep sober 2.5 years. Thank you,
Awesome.
Corey. So that's cool. Amazing. Shout out from the background. I love that you have been so transparent about your sobriety. It helped me seeing it when I became sober 2.5 years ago. Thank you so much for commenting.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Corey. So there you go. Like talking about it is a good thing. It's a big deal. So real quick, a couple questions I've got for you before we wrap this up. I appreciate your time, so I don't want to
Yeah.
waste too much of it. Um, Photography. So what camera are you sporting right now?
Yeah, so
I know I asked you about your lens, but I wasn't sure what actual camera
yeah,
you
so
had.
I have a Canon R6 Mark II and a Canon R7. So yeah,
Oh,
I
cool.
picked up a second body when I was in Alaska. Yeah.
Man, so that lens, I need something that takes your landscape photos are incredible.
Yeah,
I've been, yeah, I guess I'm just curious about. I know I asked you recently, but
yeah.
I didn't know what you had going on now with that.
So right now I have the Canon RF 14 to 35, the f4. It's an L series lens, but like it's amazing. And so I use that for all of my landscape stuff and just really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's really. I picked up a Rebel 7T T5. Robert's camera like had like a deal on like refurbished lenses and cameras. It came with like a bag. It came with a 15 or yeah, was it 15 by 55 millimeter and then like a macro lens for like
Nice.
product photos. I have like a side business where I have to take pictures for a website and all that stuff. But I haven't dived deep into landscape photos. So I was like, what is he using for these landscape photos? So I'm gonna note the lens. I may have to go spend way too much money and get one of those soon, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, keep up the pictures are amazing. And something I'm sure you know, I don't know if you know, we have like a music. Me and Owen had a music podcast, and like me and Jason have a music podcast now called "What's in Your Earbuds," and we're always curious about what people are listening to. You know, like while you're training, like while you're out for a run.
Yeah.
So what's that been? What's been on like your playlist lately?
You know, I like a lot of things, but I mainly like hard rock, heavy metal, but then I'm also like oddly into like certain country and like Americana bluegrass type stuff. So
Ooh,
there's
nice.
a new Chevelle album that just came out that was pretty sweet. Attack Attack also just released a new album, and so like I love them, but oh, I don't know, like Tyler Childers also just released an album.
Ooh, I was going to ask you if you listened to that since you said Americana
Oh
bluegrass,
yeah,
but
like Tyler
it's
Childers,
it's so good,
Sarah
it's so good.
Farrell. Yeah, so like I'm kind of all over the place in both of those. My favorite band is still Slipknot. I will always listen to them forever.
Yeah,
But yeah,
one of my top 5 groups.
yeah. So
That's so
there's a lot
cool.
of good stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, have you heard? I love that song Onita on the new Tyler Childers
Yep.
album. He did that as like a cover on like it was like a micro brew sessions thing that he did a while back. It was like an unplugged, and he did that Onita song. I never heard it again. I could never find it again, and then now he put it on the new album. I'm just like, oh hell yeah!
Nice.
So that's been on repeat with me lately.
Nice.
But and always Slipknot, Corey. I always have Slipknot on my playlist.
As
But
you should.
so cool. So, real quick again, I guess I'm curious what's next. I saw something on your Ultra sign up, but I didn't know if you wanted to share like what do you got coming up next? Like, what's your next journey? What's your next race?
Yeah, that's a really tough question actually because I I'm signed up for a 50K in New Zealand in a couple of weeks, and I'm excited for it. But honestly, I'm probably going to end up dropping down to like the half marathon or the 5K because I'm currently running 4 miles a day. So the 50K is not in my cards for this year, and that's okay. I actually just sent the email to defer not Cocodona, Moab 240 to next year. So I will not be on the start line of Moab. And after going up Mount Washington today, I was thinking about it a bit more, and I'm probably going to drop down in distance at Ultra Trail Cape Town as well. I was going to do the 100 mile there. And I think 50K might be more reasonable. Or who knows? But it won't be the 100, unfortunately, just because I'm not really in a spot to be doing that. In a yeah,
Totally understandable. Like I had a 100 miler that I was planning. Unfortunately, not going to be able to make it, but you're still going on cool adventures. So that's all that really matters. You're still
Totally.
like still out. Yeah, you're still kayaking. Like you're doing all these cool things. So whatever. Like start lines are fun, but there's all these other cool things that you do too that we can all do that aren't necessarily race.
Totally.
So yeah,
And
cool.
you know, I'll have my camera with me, whatever I'm doing. So, so
Heck yeah.
yeah.
Well, Coree, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been fun, like kind of following along. We've chatted a few times here and there on IG. Always appreciate what you're putting out there. I'll appreciate the photography tips. Thank you for coming on the show. Have to have you on back again someday. We might have to have you on the music podcast since we share so much music commonality.
Absolutely. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Give Coree a follow. Like I said, his content's amazing. The pictures I can't say enough about them. He's always going on really, really cool adventures. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for coming on, Coree. And I will see everybody next time on